Hey, welcome to Old Ass Movie Reviews. I'm Scott. There's Dave. Right there. And we are entering the month of January, and we decided to take a turn into the 80s. And nothing says 80s more than John motherfucking Hughes. This man has written so many movies, directed so many. The Vacation movies, Home Alone. I mean, Pretty in Pink, which is...
It wouldn't have been the 80s without him.
You can't have the 80s without John Hughes. So our first movie up out of the shoots there is Pretty in Pink with 80s superstar Molly Ringwald, who really came into being.
My heart.
Yeah. This is a movie that I have only seen once before, and it's been a long time, and I don't think I saw the whole thing before. This is a good one. Now, before we get rolling, I need to let everybody know we spoil everything.
Yes.
But before we even get to spoiling that, thanks to those who have taken time to give us a review. It helps us tremendously on being found and getting listeners. And we'd love more than anything to grow our listeners base and possibly get some sponsorship of any kind. We'll hawk any good up on here. So, but it's this is if you haven't seen it, stop the podcast, go watch. We will spoil it.
Yeah.
But I have one question for everybody listening and for you, Dave.
All right.
Team Blaine or Team Ducky? That's all I got to say.
Ducky.
I'm Ducky. I'm 100% Ducky. I really disliked this ending.
I know,
I'm Team
right?
Ducky all the way. I'm Team Ducky all the way.
I was talking, the wife and I were talking, we were both like, when he comes dancing in, not to get too far ahead, but there's a scene where I look over at the LA, I said, that's Ducky. I would hang out with that guy. I would hang out
Ducky,
with that guy.
Ducky's awesome. Let's talk about Ducky. John Cryer. A very early role, a very young John Cryer, and I think he is the best actor in this fucking movie.
He's absolutely well. They're all fantastic.
They're all fantastic.
They really are. They are really good. But he took that character who was supposed to probably just be a little awkward, and he just blew it out. I mean, he just expanded that character and stole any scene that he was in. Yeah. He literally stole every scene he was in.
He was so believable. And as a teenager in the 80s, I watched this movie. Now, I think it's important to note, I can relate, the teenager inside me can relate to this movie. Man, it gives me so many flashbacks.
Right?
All the little cliques and all the people, This is typical John Hughes. John Hughes tends to have a theme of class running through it. And this is, again, dealing with the rich kids and the poor kids. We see it all the time in these 80s movies, and this one really, really hits it. But it's just seeing the clothes, the music, good soundtrack. But of course, Pretty in Pink, the title song you hear multiple times throughout this. But it's, I feel like, we've talked in the past when we do watch these 80s movies, it's like, what makes an 80s movie? This makes an 80s fucking movie. It's not the clothes. Well, I mean, it is, but you can't just throw the clothes and the music and have an 80s movie. There is something carefree about this that's different.
Well, it also had a lot of hope. Like, I think if you did a teenage movie now, teenage angst movie now, you'd have an nth power of angst in it and no hope.
That's interesting.
Know what I mean? And with John Hughes, even Blaine, it's not a name, that's a major appliance.
Thank you. I was racking my brain. What was the line that Ducky said that was so fucking funny that I meant to take a note of? Right? Yes. That's not a name, that's a major appliance.
I was waiting for that line the whole freaking movie. And when he says it, I'm like, yes, that's freaking brilliant. But Hughes had a way of writing to where even when the character of Andy is so down and she's just depressed, and I mean, just by her actions and by her personality, that even if her and Blaine don't get back together, maybe her Ducky's still mad at her, she's going to come out on top. She's going to become a better human.
You see that.
You see it. And I think now if somebody tried to write a teen angst movie, and I've seen it before, like in the 90s, late 90s, they started like just, there's no hope and I'm going to go commit suicide. And, they're just really depressing now instead of, I don't know. I don't know about you, but even in the 80s, I had hope. Like when I realized there was never going to be a nuclear war between America and Russia.
Yeah.
And if there was not a fucking thing I could do about it to stop it. I was like, my stress level went down like tremendously. I was about 15 when I was like really thought about it. Like none of these guys are going to start a nuclear war. If they do, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm going to get on with my life.
Well, that's a great point. I mean, I look back at this movies and I look at this time. This is a time that you and I lived through.
Yeah.
And that's why I find the 80s so relatable. And I get so frustrated when I watch anything that tries to set something in the 80s. And yeah, you can set it in the 80s, but there's a difference between setting a movie in the 80s and having that 80s vibe. And this has that hope.
Yeah.
This has that carefreeness. This has crazy ass kids, raging hormones with parties and sex and alcohol, because this shit actually was going on. Now, the 90s kids and millennials now. Yeah. We'll look at this and it's like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Well, they're all in denial because they're all doing the same shit, but they're just going to deny it. Whereas when we were doing it as kids, we denied it a little bit. We're like, no.
Sure.
No, man, I don't smoke weed, dude. No.
Yeah.
I don't do blue, man. It's like,
80s was fucking wild and carefree, and it has an energy.
What I remember of the 80s, I remember fondly.
I do. I'm a huge fan of the music. That brings me to the soundtrack. Psychedelic
Echo and the Bunnymen.
Is it Echo? Yeah, it's Echo and the Bunnymen. Why did I say Psychedelic first?
They're one of the bands. They're still around, I think. I think they're still doing shows.
OMD has one of the most popular songs in here. And I gotta do a little segue into OMD. A couple years ago, I went to a concert in New Orleans, and it was Berlin, B-52s, and OMD.
Oh, shit.
And I was excited. I wanted to see Berlin more than anything. And I was like, OMD, why did you put OMD on here? I just, I don't care to see OMD.
Right.
Berlin came on, did 30 minutes. Like, okay, you know what? They're okay live. They sound different. Some bands do. They just don't sound the same.
Yeah.
It was a good show. Nothing against Berlin.
It's also not the 80s.
Yeah. Berlin was the 80s.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
But when OMD came on, it became one of my all-time favorite concerts. I have never seen a show sound and look so good as OMD. And of course, they played the song that they play in this movie. If You Leave.
Pretty in Pink?
No, If You Leave.
That's
OMD on there. Yeah.
And Echo and the Bunnymen's Pretty in Pink, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Or is that Psychedelic Furs? I don't know.
Psychedelic Furs. It's been a long time since I've looked at who sang what.
But when I saw them, and of course they played that, and they showed clips of this movie in the background of the stage. Yeah, and it was
that's cool.
They were better than Berlin, and they were better than the B-52s, and both Berlin and the B-52s were awesome. So OMD is incredible. So
that's crazy.
I suggest anybody, if OMD is playing anywhere near you, go watch it. You will recognize more songs than you think. They made so many hits. It's all excellent, and they sound incredible.
Wow. That's crazy.
But anyway, good 80s music.
You said you've only seen this one time before?
Yeah.
And it's a funny picture. Now I'm going to have to tag my friend Kevin. I haven't talked to him for a while. When this gets posted, he and I would go to a place called O. Henry's in Panama City. It was like $1 beer. $1 to get in, and then like $1 beer, and we'd order pitchers of beer, and we just sit there for whatever reason. John Hughes films, if they went to O. Henry's, he and I were there, and we just watched this fucking thing like all the time. With the acting, I had a huge crush. I mean, it's the only person I ever had a crush on in Hollywood was Molly Ringwald. It's like,
really,
it's like, And you look at her now; she's still very smart. I'm like, I'm glad she's still acting. I'm still good for you, Molly.
She's actually a musician. She tours with a band, and she also, is still
acting. She used to do her own clothes. So, like a lot of the movies you see her like doing her own clothes, I think she actually used to do that. Yeah. But I just remember, like back in the 80s, we'd go get a beer, sit down, get some pizza or burger or whatever whatever bar food that the theater was selling, and just sit there and watch a John Hughes film. And if it was a double feature, we'd sit there and watch that. Watched Raising Arizona there a lot too.
Oh my God, I love Raising Arizona. I think it's the only movie from those brothers. I can't think of their name at the moment that I love so much.
Yeah,
it's one of my favorites from them. But what's interesting is I love this movie. And I can relate to it, right. But I wonder what 90s kids or 2000 kids, if they would watch that today, how this holds for them. I know for me, it has so much nostalgia. I see the cars, I see the clothes, I hear the dialect, I hear the music, the hair, the makeup, the energy.
Wow, that's a good question. If there's any younger generation out there, Go ahead and watch this movie, man.
Do you like this movie? Can you relate to it?
Yeah. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Is it strictly a nostalgia thing where you're like, nah, that's such a corny movie. That would never happen. But I think it would. I think it's still viable.
It's really definitely viable. And John Hughes writes great dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
There's great conversations happening in here. It's real. Now, see, I've always had a thing for Annie Potts, and I did not realize she was in this movie. And it's like, oh my God.
Annie Potts. This is, I think this is after. I think it's after the original.
Is it after Ghostbusters?
I think.
I don't know.
I could be wrong.
It's definitely before Designing Women.
Oh yeah. But let's go down the list. I mean, you got Molly Ringwald as Andy. You got Harry Dean Stanton as her dad.
Yeah.
I forgot that he was the dad. It's been a while since I saw the movie. Whenever he shows up, I was like, yes, that's who it is. That's her dad. And he does. There is a scene in the movie where Molly Ringwald's Andy is yelling at her dad about that the mother has left and it's been years and get your shit together.
God,
and the dad,
that's a hard scene.
He just grabs her and he shakes her because he's just so angry at himself and the bad life he's been leading for the last 3 or 4 years or whatever. And he just starts to shake her and then he stops and he's like, and you can just see him breaking down. Like it took his daughter to explain to him, you gotta grow up, you gotta get over this, you gotta get past all this shit, is what she's telling him. She left me too. She didn't like me. She didn't like you.
That's a hard scene, man. And both of them deliver
every time I well up. I literally well up. When I was 18, 19, whatever, I was watching this at the theater, I would well up every time. And me and Kevin went and saw this movie a lot. It was like every night we'd just be sitting there because we had friends there and we'd go hang out there. So, we knew people, but it was just like every time I just start welling up. And I think that if I was going to run or play a scene, if I was ever in a movie where I had a daughter and it had to be the touching argument between father and daughter and, you have to show emotion, that's the scene I'd go look at.
That's a great point.
He plays it so well. He's a dad at his wit's end, and he doesn't know what to do.
That's a good point. Because that's a great scene. That's a great scene to study for that because both of them just deliver it so well.
Oh, she's at the top of her fucking game there against him. I mean, they're both trying to outdo.
There's things I'm watching because of what we do. We tend to watch movies much more critically and much more studying things. And I just watch the actors and just she's amazing. Absolutely. Everybody in this movie is so real, so believable. I love John Cryer in this. Now I'm going to say
he's fucking awesome.
I got to segue a little on John Cryer. All I know is lately, and I stopped watching because I don't care for the show, but his run on Supergirl as Lex Luthor is nothing but amazing. He's a great Lex Luthor. He's completely shaved. He is awesome as Lex Luthor. That's all I'm going to say. And if you disagree, fuck you. He's awesome as Lex Luthor.
I didn't even know that he was Lex Luthor because I honestly would have stuck around. I would have watched those episodes just because I like.
Dude, it's like I said, I don't care for the show, but his portrayal of Luthor is spot on, man. It's just awesome.
Why didn't they get him to play Luthor instead of this other guy, the other yokel that they have in the movie?
Eisenberg.
Is that the guy's name? He's
Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah.
Fucking horrible. He was horribly written, A.
Yeah.
And then he's horribly acted, B. So.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
John Cryer is a great casting for Lex Luthor.
Because I like John Cryer. He seems like a good cat too. Like you don't really ever hear anything bad about him.
When I watch this, let's back up. Let's talk about the plot of this movie. You've got. The main character is Andy. She lives with her dad. They don't have a lot, so they're considered poor. Yeah. And she has a group of friends, Ducky and Iona, who runs the record store. She's older, played by Annie Potts.
How old do you think she was supposed to be? I'm going to sidetrack for just
maybe 30. Yeah,
I was thinking maybe in her mid to early 20s.
I was thinking late 20s, early 30s.
Okay.
She looked very young, though.
So I was thinking that's why the two of them got along so well.
Because she looked older in Goosebusters. Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. What are you doing? I'm
Ghostbusters.
Stop that. You're getting feathers everywhere.
Don't cross the streams. The geese get mad when you cross the streams. I'm just saying.
Your necks get all twisted.
Yeah.
Okay, we're back. Annie Potts.
Geesebusters.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think she looked younger in here than she did in Ghostbusters. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so you have her, and then you have the rich kids. James Spader plays the ultimate douchebag.
He always played it for the longest time.
Well.
Like the first thing I ever remember seeing him in where he played like a nice guy and a good guy was in Stargate.
Yeah.
I can remember seeing him in where I didn't hate him.
He's good in Stargate. Yeah, he's not the douchebag.
Like you said, his acting in this, you just want to slap him. I mean, like you instantly want to slap this guy. You just want to beat the shit out of this guy.
Now, I'm going to say something. This is the 80s, and people nowadays may watch this movie and say, my God, there's smoking everywhere. That was the 80s. It was, yes, people would smoke in school. That was not a big fucking deal. It was not the end of the world.
You had the doors at the one school I went to in Michigan. They had like an entire smoking section, just almost like how they had it set up there. You went out these double doors.
We had that too.
It was like a pit, and everybody just had their own little cliques all over the place.
Yeah.
But speaking of cliques, before we get to Andrew McCarthy, I never, I know the cliques existed and I knew they were there, but by the time I got to be a junior and senior in high school, the group of guys that I was hanging out with, which would be considered all the rednecks, we were always invited to everybody's parties.
Yeah.
As a group, we were always invited. Like, I don't ever remember like the toughs not wanting us around. I don't ever remember the preps not wanting us around. I don't ever remember the stoners not wanting us around. Like if and it was all due to one guy, really. I mean, we were all pretty much liked as a group, but there was one guy that I don't want to give off his name because I don't know if anybody knows him, but everybody knew and loved the guy.
Yeah.
And it was like, you're invited, your friends are invited, or if one of us was invited, it was just known or natural that the other 7 or 8 of us were going to show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I got invited somewhere, it wasn't just, hey, Dave's going to come. It was Dave and the group are going to come, or Brent and the group, or, Shane and just everybody, one of us went somewhere. So I never really had that feel of the cliques being so divided because we were always at all the parties. And I got lucky because at the time I was 18, like in senior year, I just turned 18, and I was invited to every party because I could buy beer legally.
Yeah,
I was the guy that went out. So
you were popular.
I was definitely getting invited to other parties. So that was very good for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I knew the cliques existed, and I knew some treated each other that way. But I can't say that I personally was ever. If somebody didn't like me, they didn't like me because of who I was, and I was fine with that. I probably didn't like them either.
When I grew up, it was a pretty small school, so yes, there were those cliques existed, but they crossed over every time there was a party. It wasn't as divided. And we're going to see this as we travel through John Hughes, and we'll see it especially in Breakfast Club.
Which is a
great study of the cliques.
Perfect division. It's a perfect psychological exam.
It is. It is. And that's what makes these movies so good, is because you can relate to things. In the cliques in school, I bounced between multiple ones.
Yeah.
I never knew I was in the Richie clique because my parents were well off. Because I hung out with the stoners and the other people and the band, the music nerds and all of that. I hung out with all of them. I did not realize that other people had pushed me into a clique. And of course I found that out later. It's like, what? Whatever.
And I used to hang out with the band rats. I was a theater nerd. I was in theater in my senior year, which I was pushed into by a friend. That's a whole other story. But it was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. We'll come back to this story maybe, because I want to talk about the actors in this. Andrew McCarthy.
Blaine, the Major Appliance.
Blaine, the Major Appliance. What a wishy-washy character. I mean, if I would have known Blaine, if I had been with Blaine and and Steph.
Steph, yeah.
I'd have looked at Blaine and went, why are you taking this shit from this guy?
I know. It took him till the end of the fucking movie to grow his set.
Why are you taking
Ducky was there to defend. Okay, let's back up. Andy, played by Molly Ringwald, really has a thing for Blaine, Andrew McCarthy's character, and vice versa. At the same time, her best friend, Ducky, who would do anything for Andy.
He was so in love.
He's so in love, but so terrified to even say anything. He couldn't even bring himself. So his inaction allowed Andy to seek out what she was looking for, and she and Blaine hook up. However, like anything, Blaine starts getting flack from his friends. Oh, you can't be hanging out with them. And Ducky's giving Andy shit for hanging out with the rich guy. It wasn't
just Ducky. It was like all of her friends were doing the same shit every time he showed up. Like, you know, he was getting shit on by her friends. So
so it's like
had their own, FU moments. So
it was he is a wishy-washy character because he was fine. He really enjoyed, but he couldn't break from his environment. When Steph
friends.
Yeah, when his friend Steph put the pressure on him, he caved.
Yeah.
He caved
quick too.
Very quick. And I really didn't like that. I saw that as a spineless fucker.
Yeah, it's a spineless little weasel.
Yeah. And that's when I became 100% solid in Team Ducky.
I was always Team Ducky. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But what happens is Blaine's friends pretty much push him away and talk him into dumping Andy. And he does it in such a shitty way. He just ghosts her ass.
He's not even a man enough to go break up.
No, he's horrible.
Or whatever. He just ignores the phone calls and hopes it goes away.
One of the best things about it is watching Andy find the strength to make a dress and go to the fucking prom in spite of everybody else. And that, to me, I love that. I love watching that scene. I had a lot of moments. This movie, if you have a heart, you will tear up. It's so well fucking done. This is probably one of the heaviest dramas that John Hughes has done. There's not a lot of comedy here.
There's moments with Ducky, and he's the comic relief.
But it's
storytelling. He would be the fool. Her hero's journey is going in her hero's journey. Andrew McCarthy's is going in his hero's journey.
Yeah.
But very much a wishy-washy hero's journey. And he plays that character really well.
He does.
I mean, the acting in this is just every level top notch.
It's well cast. It's definitely perfectly cast. And it's just a few characters that are in there.
They got a list on IMDb, like 39 people, and I'm looking through like, okay, you could stop at freaking.
Well,
Dice Clay as the bouncer.
Yeah, that was a nice surprise.
I'm going through here. Oh, there she is, Gina Gershon.
Yeah, I saw her. It's like, who is that? Who is that? And it's like, I know her. And it's like, oh my God, it's Gina Gershon. Yeah,
girlfriend gym class.
Yep. I was racking my brain. It's like, for a brief moment, I thought it might have been Daphne Zanuga, or whatever the hell her name was, who was on Melrose Place or these other shows. But yeah, but no, Gina Gershon.
What's funny is I didn't know who the girl was at the end. That's eyeballing Ducky. That's Christy Swanson.
Really?
Christy Swanson, a very young Christy Swanson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kat was like, well, that's.
I didn't know she was in that. Okay.
I'm like, what? No. She's like, yeah, that's. Did you not know that? I'm like, I had no idea. She's just a pretty blonde is all I saw.
Yeah.
And I just love Ducky's reaction to it when he's looking at it. He's like, he's looking at it. He's like, me? And he looks around. He looks right.
I didn't know that was her either.
But I didn't like that ending. I wanted him to be with Andy's.
So what goes on here is Blaine goes ahead and dumps Andy, and she pulls it together and makes a dress from Iona's prom dress and one her dad got her, and she goes to prom, and she sees Ducky, and they're, you think for a brief moment they're gonna be there. And it's like, yes. And then Blaine shows up, and he kind of does an apology, and Ducky being the good friend that Ducky is, even though, you know what, we can forgive Ducky for getting angry, because I understand where Ducky was coming from. And I think Andy understood that too.
Well, everybody watches this movie knows where Ducky's coming from.
They know where he's coming from. And he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. No. But in the end, Ducky was there for his friend. No matter what he said, he would have always been there for her, even as just a friend. And that to me, when he says, you could, go or whatever.
Yeah.
And she does. I'm like, what?
Are you kidding me? Why? Why did you go after that guy?
I don't. Here's the thing, David, I don't feel good at the end of this movie. I'm pissed at the end of this fucking movie.
Pretty good about this movie, but I'm not. But here's what I think happens. I think her and Blaine. This is how I justify my thinking in this movie. Her and Blaine date for a week, one more week, and then she dumps Blaine, and then her and Ducky get back together, and Ducky and them go off and have kids and have a good family and are happily.
Well, it's so funny because
Blaine has never grown up and never been able to figure out how to have a life. And Steph, James Spader's character, you put it together yesterday. Steph has lost his inheritance. He doesn't have any kind of money coming in, and that's why the movie or the series Blacklist is created. He has to become a serial killer to try and steal money. So suddenly, that's what happens.
Is that what that series? He's a serial killer in that movie? In that series?
I think he's a serial killer in prison.
Now I want to watch. I always freak out when I see James Spader now because he's bald. Yeah, and he's such a good-looking guy in the 80s. And it's like, the perfect hair and everything. And now it's like, what?
No, he is just a little chubby and he's bald.
Yeah.
Like me.
Which,
a little bit bald.
But he was... But that was... The thing is like, I really wanted a happy ending. And right. I get it. This is a happy ending. But to me, it's not the ending that I wanted. I wanted with Ducky... And that would have been fine because Ducky loved Andy.
Yeah. And that should have been that to me. I always kind of felt that should have been the ending. It should have been you were right in front of me, Ducky, and I didn't see you.
Yeah.
And he could have even said something like, yeah, we'll take it slow. Don't worry about it.
I'm going to have to look for interviews with John Hughes and find out if
it's going to be real hard to find interviews with that cat.
Well, I mean, he's dead now, but
especially towards the end of his life, he stopped giving interviews and shit.
Yeah, so I just wonder if somebody out there has got some info on
I'd like to know
this, where he was going when writing this. If he originally had Ducky and Andy and it just didn't play well, and they may have shot multiple endings. Who knows?
But I have to agree with you on John Cryer. He's up there, man, in this. He took a character that could have been just a little bit of humor and a little bit of an inconvenience to Andy's character, trying to find her way. And just when he's on set, when he's on screen, you're paying attention to Ducky more than you are to the main character, who's Andy.
Well, he's got style. Mm-hmm. He is unique. He is his own person. He is flying that freak flag and doesn't care. And he is awesome. He's an awesome guy. And I would hang out with Ducky. Ducky would be a friend.
There is a scene that there's a couple of scenes of let's talk about the filmmaking for just a second. In the filmmaking, there's a scene when the train, it's just a simple shot of a train coming down a track. And as the train passes, if I remember correctly, the camera kind of pans to Andy's house. It's a perfect other side of the track moment. Without saying she lives on the other side of the track. That is absolutely just without spoon feeding it. It's like, here you go. Look, this is where she lives. She's on the wrong side of the tracks.
Literally.
And which is just a blue collar neighborhood. I've lived in neighborhoods like that and a lot worse. But then you see Ducky's bedroom. At one point, you're brought into Ducky's room.
Ducky's got nothing.
Ducky is even he's much more poor than Andy and her family.
Isn't it neat?
And
isn't it neat how they show a single room, Ducky's bedroom?
Yes.
And you know everything you need to know about Ducky's family income, everything. Mm-hmm. You know his home life. You know what's going on. And man, I felt for Ducky. I saw that and it's like, God, man.
And last night, I think, was the first time that I got slapped with it. Like this is bam in your face. Do you understand Ducky now? And I always kind of knew Ducky was poor, but I always assumed he was poor like Andy's family. But now, as an older guy, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that, and I'm seeing the visual storytelling, the imagery that he used is mind-bogglingly simple.
Yeah.
It's just simple. It was so simple. And to make you sit there and think, oh, wow, this kid comes from dirt poor. This is a dirt poor kid. Mm-hmm. And like you said, one room, 35, 40 seconds of film?
Not long.
Maybe.
Not even a bed frame, just a bed on the floor.
Yeah, and you know exactly everything you need to know about this kid.
Yeah.
And there's another shot with Ducky where he's sitting on top of the newspaper stand. It's like after he's already had a hissy fit and he's ran out. And he's kind of hunkered into himself. He's kind of like crouched down and hunkered in, knees to his chest, and he's just hunkered down. And the camera shot is coming from above. It's a crane shot coming down on Ducky. And as it's coming down, it starts to rain. And then the camera comes even on him, and Ducky just goes deeper into himself. And I'm like, holy shit, that is a magnificent shot. And again, it tells you everything you need to know about Ducky. That's the first time you see him, and you're like, shit, this kid's got a heart. He's not just some little. He's feeling a lot of stuff right now.
Yeah,
that a lot of people would never give him credit for.
And I think John Hughes was brilliant in making these movies and the way he did it. Some simple shots.
Right.
He understood. It's like, God damn it. John Hughes was a teenager stuck in the 80s, because as we're going to go through these next three movies, we're going to see exactly where his brain was, with all the class divide and Breakfast Club, the hormone riddled, teenagers from Weird Science. Let's Make a Woman. There was one more we're watching.
16 Candles.
16 Candles.
The girl coming of age in 16 Candles.
Which again deals with kind of class, with Jake Ryan, the rich kid with the Ferrari or whatever. And he's so dreamy. I love 16 Candles. I have seen it God knows how many times, and I could watch it every fucking day if I had to.
Here's the thing. I give a lot of credit, of course, to Hughes, but Howard Deutsch, Deutch, maybe it's Dutch. That's the director of the movie. I always thought Hughes directed it.
I didn't catch this. Hughes did not direct this, huh?
But he wrote and produced it.
Okay.
So I'm thinking the way that he seems to have done movies was he grabbed people that saw his vision and saw his dream, kind of like Home Alone.
Yeah.
Was that Chris Columbus?
Yes, it is.
He got Chris Columbus to direct that.
Who has a great eye for family drama.
Yeah, and had never done it, but he loved Christmas, so he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I love Christmas. But he grabbed these people who knew how to take his vision and put it out there.
Yeah.
And I think Dutch, I'll call him Dutch. I don't know if that's right, but Howard Dutch seems to have been a really good director. So he got that script out of those actors. He got that script out of those characters really, really well. So I want to make sure we pay homage to this guy.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what else he's ever done. I'm sorry. I just don't know right off bat.
Well, we're not a professional podcast. This is only our 70-something episode, almost 80.
I should have maybe done a little research. Who knows?
What's research? I'm just telling everybody out there, John Hughes, if you want to see an 80s movie, actually you want to see a good movie, watch a John Hughes film. They're great coming of age movies. For me personally, they bring me back to my high school time because they take place in the time that I was there. Right. So I can relate to a lot of it. So it makes me wonder, as we were speaking earlier, how much of this is nostalgia that makes me love John Hughes so much.
Yeah, I get that.
I don't know.
But I remember seeing these movies. I didn't see Breakfast Club in the theater, I don't think.
Yeah.
Again, me and my buddy Kevin, John Hughes film, boom, there. But it was like I think I saw almost every other John Hughes movie that I can think of at the theater.
Yeah.
At least once at a theater. And it was everybody that I knew going to see. Like, if it was a John Hughes movie, you knew it was going to be a good teenage comedy, coming of age kind of thing where the person you rooted, he was really good at writing like antagonists. Like when he wants you to dislike a person, you instantly dislike a person. Well, like the first line Steph has in this movie.
Oh my God!
Skeeter had in this movie, you hate him. You hate him.
Oh,
before he finishes his sentence.
Let's talk about James Spader.
James Spader's character, his acting too.
His body language.
Oh my God!
Just his movement.
You just want to hit him.
You want to punch him, and I applaud James Spader for that. And that's just what you said earlier on in this podcast, that everybody is at the top of their game on this, and they are. There's not a bad acting scene in this fucking movie.
His body language alone, like back when I was really, really just stupid. I remember guys trying to talk like that and try and be down to me and my friends
with his little Miami Vice get up with no shirt,
the cigarette out of their mouth. And he'd put the cigarette on there where it's just kind of drooping down and like trying to talk, like be a tough guy. And I would just walk up and slap the cigarette out of their mouth. I was a horrible person.
Yeah, well. Yeah.
Me and my friends at the time didn't really put up with that sort of nonsense.
Yeah, so it is definitely well done. So I implore everybody to go out there and watch this movie. It is a good movie. I'm going to go ahead and give my final thoughts on Pretty in Pink. I fucking love this movie. This is only the first time I've actually sat down and watched the whole thing from beginning to end. I've seen it in bits and pieces.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it's one that just kind of eluded me. I've seen the others a lot, but this is good. This is good. This is I enjoyed watching this, and it just took me back. It took me back. So I would like to know if any of our listeners out there are younger than us, what these movies do to you when you watch an 80s movie? Are you connecting in any way? Are you
Right.
are you understanding it the way we do, or do you feel what we do, or do you get something completely different, which is great because art is subjective.
Do you
For
still
me,
get, yeah, the vibe?
yeah, for me, it takes me back, good and bad. I relive a lot of my childhood in high school, and which, yeah, too much information, was the worst time of my life. But I remember this stuff.
Same here.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we can revel in each other's sorrow. But it was.
I thank my sister-in-law for even keeping me in school.
Yeah.
God bless her.
I recommend everybody watch this. And definitely stick with us as we travel through about 3 more John Hughes films. Dave,
Yeah.
what's your take on Pretty in Pink?
Absolutely. I think just the father-daughter dynamic between Dean Stanton and Molly Ringwald in this was absolutely incredible. I know there are other movies out there that are so much more over the top with father-daughter stuff, but this was very subtle. This was a working class dad who wanted to spend time with his daughter, who wanted to do the right thing, but he just kind of got muddled down. For whatever reason,
depressed.
His wife left him. Really good. It was really good acting between the two of them. Even when they weren't arguing and it was just subtle, like a conversation. Like when she's waking him up first thing in the morning. Come on, get up.
That was funny.
Right? But all the actors in this of the time, it does bring me back a little bit, but I have different memories of course, of high school than you had. I went to.
Of course, I hope you don't have my memories.
Yeah. Not again. The subtle acting in some of this and some of the over top acting is good. He was such a good writer. Like I said, the people he wants you to root for, you root for right away. Yeah. You're rooting for Ducky. I mean, I don't give a shit who anybody says. You're rooting for Ducky. I really do enjoy these movies. I do enjoy John Hughes. I do have good memories of seeing them at the theater with my buddy. I remember seeing them at the theater with our group of friends, and there's usually at least 20 of us going to see one of these movies, like Nightmare on Elm Street. It was like 20 of us in the.
Oh, damn.
But we all had a good time, and we were all pretty good. We were all pretty good kids. I mean, the one group that I hung out with in Florida was a really good group. One group I hung out in Michigan was a really good group, but we got a little bit more rowdy. Some people call it violent. I'm kidding. But, no, I have really good fond memories of these movies. And now as I'm getting older and I'm watching them, it's not just the memories that they kind of feed a little bit, but I'm watching them with a new eye, an older eye going, I see the subtlety there. I see what he did there. The Room with Ducky really hit home last night. The train track, just watch that one scene, like it's in the opening credits within the first 10 minutes. That train going down the track. It's like, it's such a slap in the face, but it's not.
It's subtle, but it's there. It's like,
he's not telling you, he's showing you that she lives on the other side of the track. He's showing you that Ducky is fucking poor. Ducky's not walking around saying, I am so poor. Look at me, I'm poor. I eat macaroni and cheese every day. I'm poor.
There was nothing to say any of them were poor, except how they talked about the Richies or whatever. But then
and
you
how
saw
the
the train
Richies
tracks.
talked about the poor kids.
I'm glad you brought up Ducky's room because I noticed that last night. And then you said that. And it's like, oh my God, what an easy way to convey and tell everything. And that's why when a movie maker, either the cinematographer, director, writer, whoever decides to just show you and let you put that piece together, it's brilliant. It makes it more powerful.
This is a perfect show, don't tell.
Yes.
If you want to see a movie that shows and doesn't tell you, this is it. I can't recommend John Hughes, and I definitely recommend Pretty in Pink. It's to this day, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. I have a lot of all-time favorite movies, but they're all broken down into genres.
Different genres,
Different genres, because I can't, this would be one of the movies that was on the island with me. If I had to
This
be
is a
thrown
great
on an
fucking
island,
movie.
yep, this is one of my island movies.
Yeah. It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. I can judge or rate a movie based on what I think about the next day. If I watch a movie and I think about it all day long and about the scenes, you got me. But some movies are gone, but I start thinking of things. It's like, wow, that was really well done. And the acting, while I was watching this, it's like, it's like Molly Ringwald's very young, John Cryer, very young, Andrew McCarthy, James Spader, they all deliver big time in this.
And they're all beautiful without being over the top beautiful. I mean, Molly Ringwald is young and beautiful. Andrew McCarthy, young and beautiful.
James Spader.
John Cryer, he's young and beautiful.
Yeah.
In a completely different way, in a corny way, but they're all like James Spader was just that fucking hair and his fucking I hated that attitude.
Oh my God. Everybody knew that character.
Did it. I knew at least 3 guys like that in high school.
Yeah.
At least 3.
I know several that wanted to be him, wanted to be that douche.
Yeah. Why do you want to be a douchebag? Be Ducky.
Be Ducky, because Ducky's real.
I was probably more of a Ducky. In real life, like I probably like my attitude and my just fucking around and playing with people and having a good time was pretty much me.
I just did not have Ducky's style, and I wish I would have.
I did not have that style, but I had the sense of humor. Like I could have hung out very easily and rolled with Ducky.
Easy.
Yeah. I would not have wanted to be anywhere near Spader or Steph or Blaine at all.
Nope. No. I would not have hung out with those guys. Those would not have been.
I'll take that bag of Coke and that bag of weed, and I'm leaving because I don't want to be at your party.
Oh, fuck that!
And I'm taking this 12-pack of beer too.
Yeah. Ducky would be more
girlfriend. Get out of here.
Yeah. So.
But no, Ducky, I'd be more of a Ducky.
Definitely. So as you can see, Old Ass Movie Reviews definitely gives a resounding thumbs up to Pretty in Pink, and we are 100% Team Ducky.
Team Ducky.
That's how it is. If you think otherwise, please drop us a line, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, check us out everywhere. If you can hear us on a podcast, if we're not where you listen to podcasts and you just stumbled across us, let me know. I'll get us on there. So please join with us this month, and as we relive our high school days with John Hughes.
Love John Hughes film. Just gotta love it.
Fuck yeah. So next week, Dave, what John Hughes film are we watching?
Hey, do you want to go ahead and have a little club party? A little breakfast club? Yeah, let's do breakfast.
That's awesome. I love it. I want our listeners to watch this next movie and think about, who are you in that movie?
Oh, God. Oh, I already know who I am.
I know who I am. I'm Ali Sheedy 100% all day.
You're Ali Sheedy?
Ali Sheedy all day long.
Captain Crunch.
Weird goth kid who just wants to be left alone. Yeah,
it makes art with
dandruff. Yes. Yes.
We just gave up half of that movie.
We did. So take a look at Breakfast Club, and then you can join us because we will spoil the hell out of it. Again, Molly Ringwald, Emilio Estevez, Anthony Michael Hall, Judd Nelson, and many more who always appear in a John Hughes film. So until next week, have a good one.
And you too.
And you too.